Floyd Productions present Silly Bob and the Time Machine. Silly Bob is not renowned as being one of life's greatest thinkers, more like one of the world's biggest stinkers. Having tried most any trade you could think of anywhere in the universe, he is not well known for making any product except maybe the odd ginger biscuit that stops dogs a howling, as the flavour of them wafts up through their ears and blocks the sound of the clinking milk bottles on the moon each Wednesday at 9 p.m. This sound on Earth any normal human being cannot detect, but it drives a dog nuts with ginger nuts. As you've guessed, Silly Bob was bored into his mind and out of his feet. He felt so incomplete that nothing has ever been done for such long periods of time. He decided to become a professional time machine builder. After all, he had once helped Lord Creosote to build his spaceship. And thinking of Creosote and being low on funds, he decided to ask him for a quid to build a time machine prototype. And being in his teetotal phase, he knew that he'd have to steer clear of the liquid beer or he'd be insufficiently drained of funds. He called Super Squirrel, Cupid Stunt and Hank Stinkerton on the Felietone to ask if they would be willing to help him to build a time machine so he may be able to find some of the boring parts in his lifetime, whether it be less boring or it be past or future. Stinkerton obliged by asking for a tramp supply of new socks every week until the project wasn't finished, as he would always wander off. Super Squirrel just wanted extra nut beer to keep his tail up for extra balance on his high wire, and Cupid Stunt required top quality nitroglycerin for his rocket-powered boots. Believe it or not, there are no libraries on the moon, as scholars only briefly visit and whisper here. Words only elephants can hear, and they hate but ginger biscuits. Silly Bob decided to confide in Scott's mice, who get very merry on the crumbs of the ginger biscuits. Hidden in Scott's mist, they are not very present, but they still know how to travel back and forth in time, moonwise, for example.
Have you noticed that if you have 4 clocks in the house, how not one of them can show you the right time, as they each compete against each other to show their own time, whispered the mouse.
Wow.
So, it's not wise to travel into the future much as it shrinks the body,
Said the mouse, speaking from experience.
Only elephants and other giant water creatures have experienced time travel to the past, but it will wash away the memory of me, as I can hardly remember the last word I've said.
And that's why elephants never forget, said Silly Bob.
Yes, they speak so slowly you can't comprehend what they're saying,
said the mouse. I can't get any smaller, said Silly Bob. Neither can I, said Super Squirrel. Nor me, said Hank. Or I, said Cupid Stunt. A feast is better than a quest for survival then, said Silly Bob. A hike is slower than a bike. I don't want to think about it, said Cupid Stunt. So they all went down to the Duck and Squid pub and feasted, even the mouse. But who was the heaviest one of all? Well, Cupid Stunt was half stoned. Hank weighed in 1/4 of a stone. Silly Bob weighed in 3/4 of a stone. And Super Squirrel weighed 1 stone.
La.
After a long, deep sleep, their weight had all been decided. Their first conclusion was, it is dangerous to time travel in any direction without experience. Also, you can only get experience by travelling through time. One person can only travel through time each according to their weight. Hank Stinkerton and the tramp, being the lightest of the crew, was deemed too light to travel into the past on his own, yet must be suited to travel in the future with the Super Squirrel, who was the heaviest and the ground-worthy. Cupid Stunt was deemed unsafe to travel alone, only to be accompanied by Silly Bob, who could take him to a safer time in the past, full stop. Silly Bob could not time travel alone, as it would make the whole exercise pointless. You always have to bear in mind on the moon all time travel rules are inverted, unless the mouse travelled with him only to the far future, and with no teleportation. Do not travel on crazy elephants. A time tunnel, if you were in one, is a cone shape. The picture from the past is larger. What you see of the past is more likely to be replaced in the not too distant future. People of the moon are more likely to travel back to their previous point on Earth, if only to be able to survive. 1 mouse represents 21 years ahead of time for Silly Bob. 1 elephant represents 42 years in the past for Silly Bob. Silly Bob's age was 31 in June 1919. Hank is 60 years old. Stunt is 37 years old. Super Squirrel is immortal and ageless. The second conclusion they all agreed was that Silly Bob is still an idiot, and we're either too pissed, full up, overweight, underweight, bored, tired, or asleep to care anymore. Are you safe to time travel, Super Squirrel? You're a tad too light to travel too far into the past, as your weight is below the norm and it's not economically viable. What do you mean not economically viable? Said Silly Bob. Well, you spent £half-a-pound note topping us up for the time travel in the pub, said Cupid Stunt. That's half our time machine building expenditure.
You should be magically transported back in time, said the mouse.
And so Cupid Stunt went and sat on an elephant and found he was transported back 21 years to 1898, him being half a stone. Stunt was 16 years of age, the mouse didn't exist yet, and Silly Bob was 10 years old, and Hank was 39. Stunt said, around about this time I was playing truant at school and causing havoc with the first form's playtime by stealing their balls. I was being caned by my headmaster for overwriting my story, said Silly Bob. A most miserable time for me. 39 was the year I travelled to India, said Hank Stinkerton. A very happy year that was for me, full of discoveries. My house got flooded by the yearly rains and I had to row to dry land on a back door. Silly Bob sat on the elephant and went back in time 31 3/4 years, according to his weight, to January 1867, 21 years before he was born, and way before man had landed on the moon. This isn't much fun at all. Sitting on an elephant tends to take me to not the happiest of times, except that England would win the World Cup in 1966. So the mouse crawled into his pocket.
Here, let me take you to the future. La!
The mouse took him 42 years into the future, but according to Silly Bob's weight, he was lighter of a stone by 1/4. It took him further to January 1920. Yet he was back on the moon, with a mouse in his pocket, who quickly jumped out. And then they're all back to normality, the present. What a journey through time, said Silly Bob. We haven't travelled far, but it was a lot of fun. You silly Bob. You silly, silly, silly Bob. You silly Bob. You silly, silly, silly Bob. You silly Bob. You silly Bob.